The one thing they won't do is admit they were behind it. Now they say it wasn't our legislation, but we supported it after the fact. There's no way that anybody who's followed this for years wouldn't know that the CCA and the North Carolina Wildlife Federation were behind all of this from the beginning.
SHRIMPgate.
When gate is at the end of a noun, it's rarely a good thing. The Watergate scandal had to do with Richard Nixon and the CIA. The SHRIMPgate scandal had to do with the CCA and the NC Senate. We don't have a lot of time to cover all this, so let's get started.
The CCA was started by Walter Fondren. Walter Fondren's father started Humble Oil Company in the Gulf.
Your Esso dealer is pleased to announce his affiliation with the great new Humble Oil and Refining Company, America's leading energy company. Humble now unites 5 affiliated oil companies, each one with outstanding knowledge, skill, and experience.
So anyway, but he started the CCA.
Walter Fondren has been a staunch proponent of marine resource conservation for more than a quarter of a century. A native Texan, Fondren spent his weekends fishing along the coast. But by the early 1970s, he noticed his angling opportunities dwindling due to changing conditions. In 1976, he and 42 other concerned anglers met to discuss what they could do about the ongoing abuse of their coastal resources.
They kept expanding it, and then they kept getting greedy, and they wanted it all. And I think it was about 94, they went in Florida, and they put it on a referendum. And they went around with a propaganda machine. People didn't know any different. They're telling them, showing them pictures of turtles drifting up. Commercial fishermen killed them. You went fishing yesterday and didn't catch any fish. That's because the commercial fishermen caught all the fish. And they put it on the referendum, and they put a net ban in Florida.
You want the real conservation facts? True environmentalists know that banning the nets has nothing to do with conservation. A healthy dolphin does not get caught in a net, and sea turtles are in much more danger from hook and line fishing than from nets. With 500,000 recreational boats on Florida waters, compared to fewer than 8,000 commercial fishing vessels, ask yourself, who is really damaging the environment?
They kept coming up the coast.
Yeah, so the CCA in Louisiana, people don't know what's really going on with the CCA. All right, all they want to do is do banquets, give away trucks. Let's have another banquet and do raffles. But it's like, where's the conservation? And it's nowhere. It's nowhere to be found. You go to these meetings and they fight you. They fight the wildlife. They fight with the politicians to get it their way. And sadly, it seems that they have more power than the Louisiana Wildlife and Fisheries. And they kind of held the limit hostage. You know, their logo is a redfish, and they started conservation off of the redfish. Guys lining people's pockets. They don't want to get rid of the pogie boats just yet, and they don't want to fight for that stuff because they're getting $25,000 a month from hedge fund guys up north. They think they're supporting a good cause, but if you really do your research, you find out that this is bad, and they're actually against you.
Coming up the coast in North Carolina was one of the holdouts.
So we line up fast and furious, so we're hard to pin down, but we're easy to kind of keep poking at. I always say death by 1,000 cuts. They're always picking. I feel like the tide is changing because I think consumers and people that don't have as much skin in the game are realizing we're not going to let our state fall. We're going to stand up for our fishing communities and for our seafood communities and for our recreational fishing communities, so we all have access and have seafood to eat for the next generation and 2-3 generations from now.
It's just been one constant thing after another. I just worked. I started working here in this business when I was 6 years old, and I just turned 83. I can't go out and buy the fish. The fish is not there, and it's mostly due to regulations. The fish is not there now. I think they're going to let these boys set pound nets here in a few weeks, and it's probably not going. It may not even last 2 weeks. How can they make a living 2 weeks and they put out $30,000, $40,000 worth of gear to catch them with?
Did you ask about the CCA?
Do you remember when they came to North Carolina?
Oh yeah, well, I remember it.
What happened?
Things got worse. Couldn't do this, you couldn't do that. It didn't help, it just gradually got worse and got worse and got worse.
Yes, sir. Yeah.
How so?
They got all the power, I guess. It's hard for even if somebody wanted to get into commercial fishing to get a license.
They made it. See y'all now. You're on TV. Yeah, when you come back.
You had a moratorium at that point moving forward that there were no more licenses issued. And from that point to today, there has been only attrition in our industry. There's been no growth.
You know, when I was chairman of the commission, there were 4,000 licensed fishermen. I think last year somebody said there were 500 or something.
It was good. We stayed busy all the time. It was, I tell you, about 6 months out of the year, it was 7 days a week. Really, it was for us. We were busy all the time. And I can remember my daddy'd say, son, you want to get away from here once in a while and go do something. There used to be 5 little general community stores on Atlantic, and you can't buy a gallon of milk on Atlantic right now. Community Harbor.
How many fish houses were in there?
There was 1, 2, 3, there was at least 4 back when I was a youngin'.
And how many aren't left now?
Just me. I'm the last one.
So you're saying back then there was 4 in Atlantic, and now there seems to be almost 4 in the general area.
That's right. That's right.
There is enough fish out there that people could go and work and make an honest living, but they're not gonna allow that. But once they run the commercial man out, all those biologists and workers that do all the funny business are coming for the recreational people. You're next.
The Fulchers closed up 8 or 10 years ago, and that was a sign of the times. It'd be 2 or 3 o'clock in the mornings, they'd still be packing fish. A lot of times I've seen them go 24 hours a day.
I've been here since they closed up. Not to see, but to know what it was at one time. And now to see it is heartbreaking. And listen, you see those packages, shrimp packages, they used to be the king in that kind of stuff. The latter years they were in business, they hardly ever messed with it. It's just a different time. And when the regulations started coming down and the imports started getting stronger.
Clayton Fulcher Seafood in Atlantic, they were one of the largest in the state. All the other communities, Marshallburg, Harkers Island, anywhere there was water, there was seafood business.
And then they started regulating you, well, you can't catch but so many pounds of fish, or you can't go this day, or you can't go that day. And I'm like, I'm a hard worker. I worked hard all my whole life. I'm a workaholic, you know. And they're telling me I can't go to work. And then when they went in this meat court, this big meat in New Bern, I finally got up, I had to get up and say, you're telling me that I can't go to work today. You're telling me to take my oil skins off that I bought and take my nets that I bought and throw them in a pile, take my oil skins that I bought, my boots, take it off, and find another job. I tell you what you do. You take that gun down and that uniform down that we bought and lay it down, turn your vessel in and your boat in that we buy gas for, and turn that in and go find you another job, and I'll go find me one. I got a big applause, Rabbit. You got that with you.
If you get into the history of the past 15 years, CCA looks to influence the rules. Lots of legislation that ultimately ties the hands of the Division of Marine Fisheries.
They're just trying to rule episode. And I think I'm not too sure if they just do away with the marine fisheries. I ain't too sure what would be better off.
What is the role of the Division of Marine Fisheries? What is their role in all of this?
It is a collection of scientists, managers, data collectors that come together to facilitate fisheries management plans for the state of North Carolina. And in that process, they develop the rules and how everything flows to the citizens.
The North Carolina Wildlife Federation, what is their role in all of this?
This is tricky. So I always tell people the CCA is like the bad cop. They're not afraid to be hated. They're very well formed with that, but they have a lot of money. They're very politically sophisticated. The NC Wildlife Federation is the good cop. The good cop. They sound like they're part of a government organization, but they work in tandem with the CCA.
When you think of the North Carolina Coastal Conservation Association, what is the first thing that pops into your head?
I think they're an incredibly sophisticated political organization. They know how to make people fight. And when they fight, they control the narrative a lot easier.
To me, CCA is a group of volunteers. It's people from all walks of life and backgrounds, some from North Carolina with long histories here, some like me who weren't born in North Carolina, where we're lucky enough to find it, who take a deep-seated passion in not just the fishing, but the resource.
What about the kids that are just being born? I want them to be able to go to the coast, be able to throw a line in the water and catch something. And that's what we're about. You know, the guys that come after us and guarding the resource and protecting it.
The state allows harmful fishing practices that cause critical habitat damage and incomprehensible waste, and refuses to address the ongoing overfishing of popular species. The state also continues to tolerate large-scale, undocumented harvest, which greatly obscures the true degree of harvest occurring, posing a persistent threat to the resource and almost ensuring overfishing.
They continually use whatever tactic they can find to get the results they want. And if that comes down to something as sleazy as what happened in the North Carolina Senate, they've shown they're willing to do it. The one thing they won't do is admit they were behind it.
The difference is the propaganda machine. They tell it the way they want it.
Our shallow sounds are in deep trouble, North Carolina, and we need to throw them a lifeline. Inshore shrimp trawling has destroyed our seafloors. Day after day, a handful of boats, many from out of state, relentlessly attack and prevent recovery of what little is left of our coastal resources. As many as 100,000 times each year, chains drag their nets across an environment stripped bare of its once vast seagrass meadows, oyster beds, and living bottom.
It's a bunch of crap, and people don't understand or know what they're talking about. Because all the nursery areas was in shallow water, head of the bays and creeks. It was nothing but shallow. When you go out to the primary end of the primary nursery area, you come in deep water. There is no grass above 4 foot, 3.5, 4 foot in our area because the water's so dark. You don't have enough sunlight to grow the grass.
If you look at areas that's been closed to trawling for more than 30 to 40 years, SAB's declining in those areas just as fast, if not faster than they are to areas that's completely open to trawling.
It's a slap in the face, you know, that you think that the people are not smart enough to realize that.
First off, you're not going to drag in 6 feet of water, in less than 6 feet of water, not with an otter trawl.
My boat won't float in about 5.5 foot of water. I can't get that. I'm not hurting the seagrass.
There was no scientific proof that closing the areas was helping. It was actually still getting worse at the same, if not a faster rate. And that's what we do. That's what our fisheries management does. We don't actually go back and look at areas, we just close more.
But you hear some of them make the statement, oh, look what we did. We really saved the fishermen by closing this place down when it didn't make a bit of difference in the world. But they think they've done something.
Nowhere near the number of boats working in Pamlico Sound that there used to be shrimping. So the impact of that fishery, when they tell you that they're doing this and they're doing that to harm the resource, they're using old-time data, old-time projections. They're not bringing that up to what's actually happening out there today.
There has to be a balance, and the balance is let nature take care of the bulk of it. And you do need some regulations, but they need to be tempered with common sense and good judgment, and not a personal agenda.
How can we be better? We're all supposed to be better. And I don't understand how a person has so much animosity in their soul and in their heart to try and put an industry out of business without willingly sitting down to the table to try and come to workable solutions.
The way they go about it is they file a petition for rulemaking to get what they want, or they go to the General Assembly to get what they want. They sue the state to get what they want. They never sit down with industry and say, hey, we're concerned about this. Can we work together to fix it?
irregardless of what they've said and whatever the latest iteration is of lawsuits or attempts to shut down the fishery, that they simply are trying to gain access to a public resource for their sole purpose.
They still are suing the state. They're still suing. It wasn't good enough. And that's the thing I don't understand about the CCA. It's never enough. It's never enough.
It is a relentless attack on commercial fishing.
They just keep throwing everything they've got at us and will not give up.
It ain't the recreational fishermen. It's a certain elitist group of recreational fishermen.
I think the Lord put this stuff here for people to eat. And I think if I leave it alone, it'll control itself.
They love the play on words of coastal conservation. Immediately, general public says, oh, they're working to make sure we have a safe water environment. Well, not really. They're focused on allocation and everything else is secondary.
Well, that was a lot of information.
SHRIMPgate.
Can fish money fight oil money? And it seems that the CCA works through politicians that then put pressure on the Division of Marine Fisheries. If House Bill 442 had gone through, it would pave the way for imported shrimp, chock full of antibiotics that we no longer use in America. Forced labor practices in the imported seafood industry is no secret. And if you had been beaten up and abused and in a corner for most of your commercial fishing career, and then after all of that, SHRIMPgate comes in and they try to just destroy the whole industry, there would be very, 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 very few people working the waters harvesting shrimp in North Carolina. SHRIMPgate 3 is the final SHRIMPgate, unless they go back to Raleigh for House Bill 442. I got a chance to talk to the writer of Wetland Riders, a book that exposes the CCA, and he said he wasn't surprised at all that the CCA was behind SHRIMPgate.
You know, like I say, they think it's conservation if they're catching all the fish, you know.
They need more research, they need more data, and it hurts and they say it hurts our seafloor, and it actually doesn't.